feel like Kobe in the fourth quarter.
This is the Dane Moore NBA podcast, and we are brought to you by Prize Picks, coming to you Monday morning. It's November 24th, and on today's show, we are going to get all the way into that messy Wolves loss in Phoenix on Friday night. I'll have Jace Frederick from the Pioneer Press here with me in a minute to get into that one. But quickly, before we do get started, I want to let you know what the schedule is going to be for this week, Thanksgiving week. Only this episode with Jace today, and then one more coming out on Tuesday. That'll be Kyle and I recapping whatever happens in Sacramento tonight and doing a little preview of the Oklahoma City matchup in advance of Wednesday. But after that episode, I will be out of town for the holiday until Sunday. Unfortunately, that means nothing surrounding. I'm not going to Oklahoma City. We're not going to do a pod off of the Oklahoma City game on Wednesday. Just want to put that out there because I think they'll probably get some messages of like, where's the pod? On Thursday morning. There will be no pods on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week. Whatever happens against Oklahoma City and whatever happens Thanksgiving weekend, they play the Celtics and the Spurs, we will get to next Monday, a week from today, because I am recording this on Monday morning, and Monday morning means this evening the Wolves do play the Sacramento Kings, so we're going to give you a Prize Picks lineup for that game before we get started, because like I said, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Okay, two I like for tonight. That Rudy Gobert number for assists keeps sitting at 0.5. That's free. He's going to have an assist. So I've been saying, I think how Rudy is being used as a playmaker on the role this season is different than previous seasons, and I think that's not being recognized in those numbers yet. So yeah, more than 0.5 assists for Rudy Gobert. Juice it up to 1.5, 2.5 if you want. I think it's pretty likely he's going to be a multiple assist guy every night this season. My other pick, I also think Ant has a big one in Sacramento tonight. Keegan Murray is back, and he's the Kings' best defender. But I think how the matchups will work is Murray's going to be on Randle. So if Murray is on Randle, who guards Ant? I think Westbrook maybe? I don't know. Give me Ant to score more than 28.5 points in this game as well. Always something going on over at Prize Picks. Bunch of stuff Thanksgiving week. As a reminder, how it works to put together a lineup at Prize Picks, all you need to do is put 2 or more picks in your lineup to win. If you don't yet have a Prize Picks account, you want to try it out this week, all you have to do is put in the promo code Dane. That helps me out, helps you out too, in that you will receive $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks app using promo code Dane when you create your account. All right, time to talk about that loss in Phoenix with Jace. Let's go. All right, we've got Jace here for the Monday morning pod. Do you have anything you think we need to like set the table with before we jump into the Wolves kind of 8-point meltdown there in the last 50 seconds? I mean, I want to work through the game like in reverse. So we're going to talk about, what Ant did in the third. Julius was good in the fourth before the end. Ant, McDaniels did a good job on Booker, obviously, all night. But is there anything else we need to talk about before we just dive into this kind of gross last minute of the game?
No, I mean, I think I would just frame it as like, hey, Phoenix is a good team. And they're playing really well, and they're playing well at home. And it was a fun, competitive game. Like, I know like all of the stuff comes down to, but I think we'll get into all the stuff the Wolves did well. But, and like obviously the last minute was bad for a few reasons. And I think there are takeaways from that as well. But like I just enjoyed watching a fun, competitive game for the first time in a while. I mean, outside of the Denver ones, obviously, but and I think there are a lot of things that the Wolves can take from that and whatnot. I also think like just big picture, I think I wrote this for Sunday's paper of like, it's good for Minnesota to just start playing more consistently competitive teams, to learn more about themselves, what they're good at, what they're bad at, what's required. I think they kind of found that a little bit more in the second half after looking a little shell-shocked in the first half, which has been the case against other teams too. Like, yes, they played well for 3 quarters against Denver that other game at Target Center, but if you remember the first like 6-7 minutes, it was like, whoa, like Denver looks significantly better here. I think Minnesota's just like, I actually have confidence they'll play better basketball when better basketball is more consistently required. But yeah, and then obviously there are real issues with how they finished that game that we're about to get into.
Yeah, it reminded me most of the Portland game on opening night, right? Like discombobulated kind of at the start. Wolves settle into a rhythm. Wolves start playing really well in the second half, specifically Ant, kind of carrying them. And then that Portland game ended how it did with Ant taking over and looking incredible against
amid
Portland
chaos
there. And
too. Also amid chaos, with
Right,
like
it was a
guys
similar
falling
game,
down
right?
all over the place and whatnot. And you're like, I remember at the end it was like, what is happening in these last like 4 minutes? And it went the Wolves' way, and this one didn't. But it had a very similar vibe of like, it's just back and forth, guys falling all over. Of like, oh my god, that one went their way, this one didn't. Very similar, and like frankly, like similar. Pretty good pressure defenses. Like Portland's probably a little higher level than Phoenix, but Phoenix plays in a similar manner, and that's something Minnesota will have to consistently try to find answers for and work through as well.
So we're just going to go through these final 50 seconds. If you missed the game this weekend, the Wolves were up 8 with 50 seconds left in the game, and 3 turnovers in like 25 seconds, and it really fell apart. But I want to start with the play that precipitated this. There's the first big Ant turnover, but what happens, I'm going to put the clip up here. What happens in the play before, I think if this is guarded differently or if this rebound is secured, it's fair to say nothing happens the rest of the way. So here's Dillon Brooks coming down, firing this. Royce O'Neal goes around Anthony Edwards, gets an offensive rebound, puts it in, Ant then inbounds it to the other team. But I want to like just start looking at this. So look at Ant. Right, Jaden McDaniels is on Dillon Brooks here, is going to take this step back 3. Ant does not need to be in this engaged of help defense with Jaden here, especially because he's guarding Royce O'Neal, who's like super high volume 3-point shooter, shooting 45% from 3 this year. I looked it up; he shot 51% from the corners last season. Like Ant needs to be more engaged on Royce O'Neal here than he is on Dillon Brooks. Jaden's got him, but then Royce O'Neal slips to the corner. Brooks still takes it. O'Neal comes around him, gets that offensive rebound, puts it in. That puts Phoenix up by 8 with the 50 seconds to go. So it's one of those examples to me of just like a small thing of execution makes a huge difference. And now you're not even set up in this position to kind of let it unravel as it did. I can keep kind of running through things and you just interject as you see fit. But I wanted to start with that piece.
Yeah, I agree. I just was admiring the cross matches there of having Rudy on Colin Gillespie. I thought that was pretty good.
It was kind of a broken.
Yeah, I know. I remember how it got to that, but it was.
Yeah.
But when you see it, it's like, oh my god.
No, it's actually a good call because, not to Ant's credit, but I think part of the reason why Ant is in as far as he is there is he had been guarding Dillon Brooks, and it was like a cross match situation, loose ball thing. I think Ant wanted to go guard Brooks there, but it's like the way it was set up, Jaden, you can't, Jaden's got him in this situation. It's Jaden. It's fine. Who do you have? I'm not even sure Ant like turned his head enough to know that that's like Royce O'Neal. If that's Jordan Goodwin in the corner, like maybe,
you probably still don't want to down 8. Up 8.
Probably not.
Still don't want to give up an open corner
against
3.
Royce O'Neal. Right. Yeah, it's a know your personnel situation.
And it is situational. Right? Like you shouldn't be leaving anybody when you're up 8. Like say Dillon Brooks goes right by Jaden and scores 2 points. Like that's not like that happens. Like obviously that's what happened here is he gave up 2 points, but like way worse is going over heavy in the gaps and giving up a corner 3. Like that's way worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
Yep. And and then what happens next is Ant inbounds the ball, and it gets stolen, and Phil Brooks passes it to Goodwin, who hits a 3. And now the score is down 103-110 with 44 seconds to go. So we started that at 113-105 with 50 seconds to go. That's 5 points in 6 seconds for them there. Now the Wolves have the ball under the basket again. I think this would be the first time where people would say Finch could have called a timeout.
Yeah, I agree with you. I want to go back though to the Royce scores that bucket. Okay. 6. Ant turns the ball over. Those are the situations where it's like, maybe you're not thinking it, but like Ant can run the baseline there and make any pass you want, and instead he just stays stationary and tries to make an impossible angle pass. It's like, and that's not like, I know people get into coaching and we'll talk about this with the timeouts and whatnot. Like that's something that players just have to know. Like you played basketball for a long time, go back and forth, make a secure pass, like get yourself in position to make a good pass. And as you move, the guys will move with you, all this stuff. Like you can't stay in one spot, so that I thought that was a blunder.
Then they make the basket and it's, should they take a timeout question? I think an important piece of context is they have one timeout it's a 3-point game and there's 44 seconds left. You could take a timeout there. I think maybe some coaches do. I think it's a lot more rare. It's a kind of like a bold thing to burn your last timeout in that situation. Obviously, in hindsight, would have been the right move. But I just wanted to throw in that was, they only had one timeout left in that situation. They don't take it. Should they have taken one? Randle, then they inbound the ball to Randle. This is not the turnover one. Randle actually breaks the press. But then once they get into the half court, he gets off of it, gets back to him, and Randle drives into a crowd. It's kind of like the Western Conference Finals. It's like one of those where there's three people like there. That. Right. It kind of did. And we haven't, to Julius's credit, that's been very rare this season.
And it's because they haven't played very many good teams that actually play in the gaps. That's part of it. That was a thought I had of this is a team that actually has a plan for how to try to slow down Minnesota's best players.
Absolutely. Yep. You're right. They've been doing that to Julius there. He drove in, ball gets picked there. Jordan Goodwin goes the other direction, goes down the floor for the layup. It's now the Wolves are only up 113, 112. McDaniels inbounds the ball to Randle. Randle immediately turns it over while attempting to pass it to DiVincenzo. It's Phoenix's ball because they've stolen it, but then Dylan Brooks commits an offensive foul. So the Wolves actually get the ball back, still up 113, 112. I kind of forgot about that. 19 seconds left in the game. Finch does call a timeout. This is where Ingles subs in for the inbound, inbounds it successfully to Edwards, who is intentionally fouled. Again, it's 113, 112. Ants at the free throw line, misses both free throws. Phoenix's ball at that time, I think noteworthy. Gobert subs back into the game for defense, but Jalen Clark does not. I think that was another big inflection point in this game. Colin Gillespie obviously goes on to make the game-winning shot, and Jalen Clark is not out there to guard him. What did you make of Clark not being in the game in that position when there was a timeout taken and they made a defensive sub and bringing Rudy in?
Right. With the timeout, first off, when they took it, to me is okay, you took it there, that makes sense, but then you really should have taken it after Goodwin makes the layup. That to me is getting a little bit lost in the action, maybe, of you've seen what's happened. That makes the sense there to use it. And then obviously it didn't hurt you. But that would have been a time where if Phoenix scores that, you would go, oh man, how did you not take a timeout after they cut it to one the first time? That would have been pretty glaring mistake. And instead it was kind of covered up by the Brooks offensive foul. And Jaden obviously blocked the shot anyway. But yeah, there's more chaos at a time where it was very clearly chaotic enough there that it probably should have been whistled in that spot.
And you just know what this team's history is within chaos. That's the case for the timeout there.
That to me was the biggest flaw. I understand the other times, but now it is a 1-point game. And you've seen what your team just did. So that to me is letting it go another possession. And I understand it's chaotic. It's probably chaotic for the coach too, but it wasn't until they had a chance of a stoppage that they finally used one. And that to me was all right, I think you should have used it the time before and you kind of got bailed out. But yeah, and then the Clark sub, I do like pointing out John Krasinski on The Athletic wrote the next morning about it. And he put in a lot of things, just knowing John, John talks to people, has conversations, and then he put in there about he doesn't just pull things from thin air. That's what I would say. And he said if Jalen would have subbed in, just for context as we get started on this conversation, probably would have been for Julius, not Dante. And then he wrote about how with 16 seconds left, Phoenix to match Phoenix's smaller lineup. With 16 seconds left, Phoenix still could have hunted Dante, and Jalen also has a little bit more propensity to foul, and you could put Phoenix at the line there. So I'm not saying
Can I counterpoint that? Because
you can counterpoint all of it. I'm not saying any of it. I'm saying John doesn't pull that stuff from thin air. John doesn't here's what I think.
Yeah,
that's all. That's all I'm saying. So if you're
let's just go through. Yeah,
we don't know anybody's thoughts. I think when John writes something, you probably have an idea that it was pulled. Conversations were had.
Wasn't.
Yeah.
But if Julius is out of the game there, the whole thing here is you don't have a timeout, and if Phoenix scores, you have to go play offense immediately.
Yep.
Right? That is the setup to this entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
I highly doubt that Chris Finch would have taken out Julius Randle, knowing that they are going to have to go play offense the next possession without any way to stop and shift personnel. I do think it would have been DiVincenzo. But here we go. Here's my hot take. I get why they didn't put Clark in. They don't have any timeouts, and they didn't Jalen Clark was going to go have to play offense. It's the same thing. I don't think Finch was going to diminish the offense on the subsequent possession because they were going to have to go score. Now, that's because I think the identity of this team has shifted from being a defensive team to an offensive team. We saw 2 years ago that team was excellent in clutch time defensively. And what they approach these situations, game on the line, with we are going to strangle you out and beat you with our defense here. My only point is they did not put out their best offensive lineup, or they didn't put out their best defensive lineup in that time because they kind of thought they were going to get scored on. And then they were going to need to play offense on the other side of the floor. And if you look at this team defensively this season, it is different defensive personnel. It is all those things. I just personally go with the defense. Go with the defensive thing there.
What's the easiest path to victory in that spot? It's just getting the stop. It's not being well, what if they score and we have 5 seconds to go score? We need our best personnel out there. It's you're probably going to lose if they score. That's just the reality of it. And I know that their minds, and we've seen it in late games, end of games, they are shifting to offense. That's what they do. That's kind of the way they have veered with their personnel choices, with their lineup choices. When things get tough, you're probably going to lose if you give up a bucket to Phoenix. You're not going to be well, what if we have 6 seconds? We want the right personnel out there. It doesn't. Right. It's going to be a scramble. It's going to be whoever gets the ball running up and taking a shot, pretty much. It is what it is. I agree with you. And I just think, how can you not look at, all right, Phoenix doesn't have Dylan Brooks, Grayson Allen, Devin Booker on the court. We can stop this lineup. And instead, they're the only person Phoenix probably would have wanted to go to there was Colin Gillespie because he'd had a nice game. Somebody who can maybe kind of go off the bounce, but you would never put him in that. This guy can really break down our defense. But instead, it takes a very simple action for Phoenix to get to plan A. And my whole point there would be, don't let a team get to their plan A. Make them do something else. And Phoenix very simply got a matchup they liked with the guy they probably wanted the ball in the hands of. He scored without much resistance. That was not great on-ball defense from Dante. You can say tough mid-range shot or whatever. It
starts with Jaden on Gillespie,
right? But it was an auto switch.
I'm just setting it up.
I agree. I agree with you.
Up what it was.
But that's exactly why Minnesota knows they want Colin Gillespie to get the ball here because that's what you put Jaden on, and it's like an auto switch. So you're just saying you're fine with whatever they hunt here, and you're fine with it being Dante, which is probably what Phoenix was always going to go with. Because he is their poorest perimeter on-ball defender of the guys who are in that top 7. And it was way too easy for Phoenix to get exactly what they wanted coming out of a timeout. So that's where if Jalen Clark's out there, if Dante's not in the game, it is much harder for Phoenix to get to what they feel is an advantageous matchup. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty big mistake. And maybe that it's just not the way they thought, but I disagree with that thought process there too. I think the stop has to be the only thing you're concerned about. And if they still score on you, tip your cap and go see if you can score in a scramble, which is what ended up happening anyway. It didn't matter who was on the court for offense in that spot. They got nothing. Because you're not going to it's going to be somebody going as hard as they can. And ideally they're getting towards the rim at least, but that's it. It's not what do we do if Jalen gets the ball on a kickoff? It just doesn't work like that. If somebody gets an open 3, you'll take it whoever it is in a scramble spot, you'll live with it.
No, I'm with you there. I think the question I got a bunch this weekend is why wasn't Clark in? The answer why Clark wasn't in was because they were going to need to play offense the next possession.
Yeah, I agree. That was the thought process.
That's the answer to that. And now you can have a conversation about, is that the right thing or the wrong thing? Nobody was there. Obviously, the biggest news ever. Nobody was, no reporters were there to ask questions after the game. So we haven't had the chance to talk to Finch about it, but that is the dots that I can connect here, is that you wanted to have their best offensive group out there. My point is I don't think the team from 2 years ago in that spot is thinking about having a more offensive lineup out there to counterpunch the bucket they think is more likely than not that they're going to give up, because that team didn't think and play that way,
particularly
that season.
When it's not it's how do we stop Luka Doncic? That has to matter too. Like, look at Phoenix's lineup on the court. I'm not Colin Gillespie's having a really nice season, but like, plan A has to be we can stop this lineup. They don't have anybody where it's like they're top shot makers out there. Like it's like we just play solid defense. We're probably in a really good spot. They might not even get a shot off. And instead it was like, well, we gotta just give it up and let Colin Gillespie get what he's gonna get, and then we'll live with the result and try to go score the other way. Like that to me is just poor process, I think.
A couple other just data points that I gathered, kind of going back and looking at it. Jalen Clark didn't play that whole fourth quarter. His last play that he was in the game on was at the end of the third quarter, where he kind of made a bad foul over pursuing. And there's 2.5 seconds left in the third quarter. Follows Royce O'Neal kind of out of control, sends Royce O'Neal to the free throw line. He hits 2 free throws in a situation that shouldn't have happened. It's part of the Jalen Clark experience, but that was a bad thing that Jalen Clark did. That's the last thing he did on the floor at that time in the third quarter. And it wasn't a good Jalen Clark game. It was worst plus minus on the team, all of those things. I mean, I'm just, as I sent you, as like theories for why Jalen Clark wasn't in, because your initial reaction is like, why wasn't that guy in there? I mean, it's the offense going the other way, which we can talk about. It's the fact that I think he had just been scratched out of the rotation for the rest of the game. And that one wasn't having a good game, made a mistake in the third quarter. It's the fourth quarter. We're just going to play 7 guys here, to get through it, as they did. Again, personally, I disagree with it, because I just think that this team is sending itself like mixed messages about who they are and what they do. And maybe that's that they're still finding their identity, over the course of this season. But 2 years ago, that team knew what its identity was, and I think would have had Nickeil Alexander-Walker in that spot or whatever it might be to try and stop the bucket there. But yeah, that's what happened in that spot. I do think Gillespie scores the bucket. There's 6.4 seconds left. I mean, no timeouts. Can't call it timeout. But we got to get better than a walk up 27-foot 3 from Julius Randle. That's just got to be head down, getting into the lane and trying to draw one at that spot. If it's Julius or Ant with the ball, it was Julius in this spot. I do wonder if Julius doesn't drive in there, because that 2 possessions before he drove into that crowd and turned it over. Did he not have that confidence in his ability to kind of play through a crowd in that spot, which is like this thing that he's not supposed to do this year, but there's 6.4 seconds left. You're down by 1. You kind of got to get to the line. Like, I don't know. I get it, but he still, I think, had to do it in that spot.
I agree with you. And as we dive into like his mental state there, I agree with that one. And I think he probably also was a little bit surprised when he got the ball. Because Ant has the ball, bringing the ball up the court. And I know, like, I'm not faulting Ant at all. Like, Phoenix did kind of shadow too. And you're like, okay, I'll get it over to Julius. Like, he clearly has that trust in Julius. But Julius is probably thinking like, okay, let's see what Ant's going to do here. And then it's like, oh, he's throwing it to me. Okay. Like, and now you're like, how much time is left? Okay. And then, tentative from that point.
6.4 seconds, man. It's a lot.
It's a lot of time. It is. How much time was there when Julius caught the pass?
I don't know. I would need to pull that up. I wrote.
No. And Julius still had.
Julius
I'm not saying that Julius had time to. Oh, you're looking at it right now. It's good podcasting. Yeah. Okay. So Ant gets it and gives it to Julius. Julius crosses half court. He definitely has time to, if he goes right away, because it is like a little slow.
What's the number? What's the number?
Well, the clock doesn't show on the NBA Twitter highlights that I'm looking at here. Probably gets the ball with like 4 seconds there. Like, it's like if you just go, if as soon as you catch the ball, you're like, I'm going to go to the rim, you would get there. But the second that you kind of like survey as he's crossing half court, he's not full sprinting there at all. He's kind of surveying. And then at that point it is like, I'm not sure if you're going to get all the way to the rim here. So I don't think they were just in like the right mental state of we have to go. And that maybe is part of like messaging too in the timeout of like, you would like to think instinctually your players do that, because a lot of guys in the NBA would do that of like, I'm going and then I'm going to drive in. And if they collapse, I'll kick out. And then that's it. That's my only plan. I'm going to the rim. I might just try to score, but if not, we kick out, we shoot. Maybe in the message of like, hey, if they score, we just go at the rim. Get the ball to Ant, go to the rim. Ant, don't want to step back 3 or anything, go to the rim. Just do that. And then I guess that has to maybe be part of the messaging with this team.
Well, it's like the know your personnel thing with the rebound. It's the time and score. It's stuff like that.
It's not. That's when I get back to them, like not moving, not running the baseline after they score a bucket, and instead committing a really, really hard pass to the corner of somebody who is clearly guarded and that angle is cut off instead of moving. Like it's knowing these things. Like these are the things where it is like you got to be more aware of these types of things, and this is why you end up maybe in some of these spots. It's tough.
4.4 seconds is what it looked like to me. When
okay,
caught it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like
that's good. I'm glad you brought that up because that is less than 6.4. It's
right, and he's catching it not at like a full sprint or anything, and then he just kind of he definitely doesn't just like kick it into high gear either. But yeah, at that point, it would have had to be like I'm going to the rim right away.
Right.
I think if you're not going to run out of time.
Today's show is brought to you by Falling Knife Brewing Company. And this Thanksgiving week, I bet you are looking for a place to go out with family and friends who are back in town this week. Let me make the case for Falling Knife. Wednesday night, we got Wolves Thunder. The sound will be on, the projection screens and the TVs. I can't think of a better place to watch that game with Wolves fans than on Friday night, the day after Thanksgiving. They are doing a Kolsch service. I'm told a Kolsch service is like eating at a Brazilian steakhouse where they are bringing around the beer and you go until you're contented. They are also tapping their 600th batch Rhythmic Void. There's just a bunch of special beer releases that evening. It's a celebration of Tom Berg, who was a huge Wolves fan on his birthday. That's Friday night. Then Saturday at 4 p.m., the Wolves play the Celtics. You can go out a little bit earlier, watching the tap room at 4 o'clock at Falling Knife. And then on Sunday night as well, the Wolves play the Spurs. Again, at Falling Knife, the games are always on the projector screens with the sound on. That's what's going on at Falling Knife Brewing Company this week. Check it out, Northeast Minneapolis. Today's show is also brought to you by Your Home Improvement Company. And we know that you maybe got some people coming to town this week and you're like, I did not get that home improvement project done in advance of them getting here. Well, don't let that happen at Christmas too. Get your project done. Maybe you need your new windows, maybe a bathroom renovation. We got the deals with them there. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, 30% off bathroom renovations. But any home improvement project, if you go through Thanksgiving week this week and go, yep, we need to get that thing taken care of, contact Your Home Improvement Company. Whatever the project is, they're done by certified local professionals and backed with a lifetime warranty. Also, they offer great financing deals where there's 0 money down, 0 interest, and 0 payments until 2027. Contact Your Home Improvement Company. You can do that by calling 866-777-YHIC or by going to yourhomeimprovementco.com. Your Home Improvement Company, where it's your home made better. Well, let's keep moving backwards with this game. Let's talk about Edwards and Randle a little bit, because if we do delete this final minute of the game, we're talking about this like a souped up version of the Portland game, and an encouraging maybe turn for this team, not just because, Ant put up 41 and looked like a big bounce back, but the whole team, like, it felt good. Julius Randle's making all these energy plays in the fourth quarter, the jump ball thing where there's the timeout, he gets a steal for a layup, the possession after that. Like, this team looked kind of great in the second half. Well, for 23 minutes of the second half, basically. But I thought Randle brought elite energy in the fourth, and Edwards was a superhero in the third quarter. He finishes by the end of the third quarter, Ant had 35 points. He had 19 in the third quarter alone. Like, he was a beast. He was picking apart the coverage. Like, I loved what I saw from the Timberwolves in those 23 minutes of the game. And I think that while this is a loss and now they fall to 0-6 against teams with the winning record, blah, 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 like, good developments happened in this game simultaneously. Not that outweigh the loss, but this wasn't just like a flat effort the whole time. It was kind of the opposite.
Yeah, this is where I think maybe it'll help them just play more good teams again and again, so that you can come with that. So you can come with the mindset of, here's what's required. Oh, that's right. I need to play like this. I need to play with this hard. This is why, like, when take some shots at Ant sometimes for these efforts in other games. It's so like, hey, like if you're playing at this level as high as you can all the time, then doesn't take so long to pull it out. And it sets the tone for your teammates. So it doesn't take so long to pull it out. But I think maybe now just playing good team, which they will do after the Sacramento game. They'll do a lot of. They play the Pelicans a couple times. But from now until Christmas, it's a pretty good schedule of, okay, there's good basketball in this team. This team
100%
won a lot of games last year. Like, went to the West Finals. Like they know how they play their best brand of basketball. Like we talk about identity, like they know. That's where it's like they're not trying to figure it out. It's just doing it. I mean, it really is. Okay, they provide a little resistance. What's our counter to defensive resistance? Maybe we have to get into, maybe the first action isn't going to work as easily as it did against the other team. But if we just run the second action crisper, we can still get into the same type of rhythm and flow that we had before. And it's just remembering, okay, this is a little bit harder. We don't stall out. We move into the next thing. And when they do that and we play with a certain pace and you get out and like, okay, we play this hard defensively. We get a stop. We go. We push it more. They're not as set. And it can kind of pick and gets a cross match, whatever, can do whatever he wants. You know, like that's it.
That was the arc of this game.
Yeah.
They learned that over the course, or they remembered it over the course of the game, right? Because it wasn't good right away.
First quarter and a half were flat. I mean, like it was like, I don't know, we tried one thing and Phoenix like had guy in the gaps and we had to pull it back and then we just dribbled and shot, you know,
and got like heavier into isolation.
Yes, exactly.
As a result of it.
As soon as the first action had faced resistance, it was okay. Who's got it? Ant or Julius? All right, they're gonna ISO. You know, like.
But then in the second half, that flipped.
Yeah.
Ant started as good as I've seen him manipulate two on the ball. I mean, that was up there, right?
Yeah.
Like he was eager to like take advantage of 4-on-3 on the backside, which is we know like going back like 2 years is a huge growth. He did show that in the playoffs last season. Like I do think it is like the value of that is cashing in his mind now of like, not only, okay, if they're putting 2 on me here 30 feet from the basket, we got to play 4-on-3. I trust my guys to do something there. But once my guys do something there on the backside, this team is going to eventually stop putting 2 on the ball on me. And here I go. I'm back in single coverage. I'm back facing a drop. Like Ant gets that more now. And that's like all my notes here in the third quarter are like, yes, did it again. And so there's that development, which I think totally plays to your, like, they're being reminded of what they need to do against good teams. Now that's kind of lame that they got to get reminded for that, you know, but it's also true that it's happening, I think we have anecdotal evidence of the arc of that literally in the first 3 quarters, not even the first 3 quarters, the first 47 minutes of that game, you know, the whole game, except for the last minute of it. They got flummoxed in the full court pressure in that game in the last minute. They were not flummoxed by Phoenix's like trying to put Mark Williams up there to trap Ant. Like they got it. They broke that down. And I think this team can break that down. They just needed to like remember that that's what we got to do, you know.
It's always like doing everything with crispness too, right? Like it's we talk about 2 on the ball, get off of it. And then people be like, well, he's getting off of it. The biggest thing is how quickly. And is there like the 2 retreat dribbles and then like realizing, okay, I'm dead. I have to get off of it. And now like it's a lot easier for when you've done those retreats, it's a lot easier for that guy who came over to you to get back into the play defensively. And now it's like 4 on 3.7, you know, which is not that great of an advantage. Where when you're doing it quickly, when the guy is like coming over towards you, now his momentum's going the other way. It is a true 4-on-3, and it is so much easier than to get them in rotation from there. And the ball might even get back to Ant at that point. So that it's just about how quickly you're able to not only process but be willing to do it. And when you do that, now all of a sudden, like your team is really hard to guard, and that's the thing that they need to do consistently. Of like you said, the eagerness. I like that word. He was like eager to do it. When you can't wait to do it, that's when it's going to be at its best, because it's like the second a team tries to do it, now you really have them out of position in rotation. You've got a lot of good players. Like Jaden McDaniels is more capable than ever of taking advantage of that. Julius, obviously, this team also does move the ball on the backside of that. And so it can get back to you. Like, and it can create a lot of good offense where, like 3 or 4 possessions in a row, they're like, we got to bag this, you know, because it just seems helpless. And that is what happened. Like that was great. And it's finding a way to do that. I did think it was like that reminded me of some second halves against Phoenix last year. And I know Phoenix is better this year, no question. Like Phoenix has a backbone this year. They've got defenders this year. They just play a lot harder. But like there was a point where they were up like 8 in the third and it was like, here's the Avalanche. They're going to win this game by 20 points. And they didn't. And that to me was a little bit interesting. I was wondering about your takeaway of that, of like, yes, that all that stuff was great. They were somehow back to down 2 when Devin Booker fouled out of that game with 3 minutes left. Like it was like Minnesota made its run and then they just traded jabs again. And do you just put that as a product of like Phoenix is really good? Because maybe it is. Like I've just said, like I give Phoenix their flowers, but like, or does Minnesota have to find an even higher gear or a way to sustain their higher gear longer than maybe they were better at in the past?
Yeah, I think the latter. I think Phoenix is just you said they have a backbone this year. Like clearly, if you watch that game, that team has a backbone. They did not stop playing when Devin Booker fouled out of the game. They did not stop playing when
they was blowing their doors off. Like they just kept process, you know, like,
and I think to the bad team narrative, the Wolves have gone on runs like that this season in the second half by Ant, by Julius, by Jaden. And those teams have kind of like somewhat packed it up, you know. It felt like that's what I thought was going to happen. Same. If I had to guess at that
time,
what
was going to happen is that it didn't.
Yeah, that it didn't. But I think it's that same mentality that I had of like, yeah, this one's probably over. Like if that sinks into you as the players, that would be my answer to your question. Again, an estimation. Nobody talked to anybody of the players after the game.
Not that you're going to get a great answer on that either. Did you guys think you won up 8? Like they're not going to be like, yes.
This is the exact thing that if there was any reporter there, if we were there in the locker room afterwards, we would have been like, and we asked Dante about this. Right. There is a missing of covering this game. There's a missing piece to it a little bit. I just want to be somewhat fair to that. But yeah, I do think that they jacked it up into fourth gear in the third quarter, Ant especially, and then some of it it wasn't fall. It wasn't like the Washington game, and it went back to first gear, but it was third. And the thing I've ever done, like related to this whole second half, and Ant specifically, like, what do you make of fatigue as an excuse for what he did or what he didn't do at the end of the game, the mistakes that he made at the end of the game? I mean, he does play the whole third quarter, scores 19 points, heavy usage there, sits out for the first 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, and then plays the final 8 minutes there. I'm not saying it's okay to be fatigued in that situation if you want to win, but do you think that Ant was fatigued in that spot?
No. I mean, not any more than any other game. I mean, Portland, he was great at the end of the game, and it was the exact same like minute load. He might have even played more. Yeah. I don't know. Against just a similar high pressure and whatnot, and had his best to go there at the end. That's what I mean.
The reason I asked that is
that's why I think you have to play full throttle all the other games. That's why you have to play full throttle all the other games to build up those muscles and be like, yep. I know this is what it feels like when I'm going 38 hard minutes. You know. I think that matters, but go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was thinking about last season, and I don't know how to really look up a player missing 2 free throws in the end of the game, but I'm pretty sure Jokic did that twice last year. Like the same thing that Ant did, like game on the line. I mean, I know watching a game like that is the first thing that came into my memory. I was like, I remember Jokic missing some in a spot here, and it's Jokic. That is the highest of bars, and it is kind of like the MVP conversation that you wrote about. We're like, MVPs don't do this. So that's on my mind. And I was like, man, I'm pretty sure I remember Jokic doing that multiple times last year. And then I go, okay, well, why did Jokic do that in those spots? Was it fatigue, for him there? What would make Nikola Jokic miss 2 free throws at the end of the game? I mean, I'm just like spitballing, throwing stuff out here, but that was the first thing that came to my mind. Is I'm pretty sure I remember Jokic doing that multiple times last season.
Okay. If somebody tired at the end of the game, yeah, but it's just not like a pass they're going to give anybody, because it's like you have to be there. You have to answer the call there. Like Jokic in those games, you'd be like, you have to make at least 1 free throw. I mean, like everybody else is asked to do it. Like it's part of why you are paid, some of the most money in the NBA. Why you are in this class of players. So yeah, I mean, more tired. Yeah, I mean, like he's more tired. Sure, like I agree with that, and like, but you got to find a way. And I thought, frankly, when you were talking, I was considering more of like the turnover and stuff of like the fatigue. I wasn't even really thinking about the 2 free throws. Yeah, like sure. I mean, That probably has more to do with it, but it's one of those where you have to find a way.
Yeah,
you have to, and that's
for sure.
that's supposedly why you train all off season and all that stuff. And I get it's hard. Totally, it's hard. Like,
yeah,
but there's
so hard that Jokic doesn't do it all the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. Ideally, like there aren't all the other errors, so that it comes down to like missing free throws when you are up 8, not when you're up like 2 in the fourth quarter. Then, sure. But when you're up 8, hopefully you're not putting yourself in that spot. But yeah, like, and guess what? Like, you're praised when you make them, you're criticized when you miss them. Like, that's just that's the reality of the situation. Exactly. Jokic gets the same thing of like, how did he miss 2 free throws here? Like Grant, and a part of it's because he said, I'm going to make both. But even like the guys like Grant Williams of the world, like, you miss 2 in a big spot, like, you're going to get hammered on, that's just the way it is, because that's supposedly why you do all this stuff all year, is to put yourself in the position where even in your 40th minute, you can deliver on something that you practice, a million times in a year.
Yeah. I'm just throwing out other.
That it's possible that he was tired, so he missed free throws. Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Just as my assumption is mentally he dropped out in the last minute of the game. Kind of thought it was over. They'd already talked their talk to Brooks. They had gotten up, big there, and that's again downshifted. Like,
the emotional aspect,
something happened
too. Like, not just like that he scored all these points and whatnot, that he was very clearly emotionally into it, and that also drains you. That drains you a lot as well, and that's something where even when he's going on some of these runs, it's not doing all that. And I'm not saying that's bad. I think like getting into like a jawing match is something that really drives Anthony Edwards. Like, I've very rarely seen somebody try to like get in Ant's head and have it work out well for the other party. Like that. Like, you turn on that guy's switch, and it's like, okay, you did it. You played yourself. Like, here he goes.
Right? Yeah.
But I do agree that when it's an emotionally charged run, like, it's not just like, wow, he's dominating the game, but like everything is into it. That maybe is a little bit more likely to drain you. You are maybe a little bit more likely to have less legs at the end. So I think that's a fair point. The jawing with Brooks and everything on top of the great play. Like, it was a great run. It was an inspiring run in the third. That can take some stuff away from you for sure.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, you got to win that game. You didn't win that game, not only because you missed the free throws, you didn't have the box out that started this whole thing. Out of position there. You didn't run the baseline, like you said, on the play where that first turnover in that spot there. Like, it didn't do anything to help them in the last minute, and conversely did a handful of things that really hurt him. And it's just a funky juxtaposition of he had 41 in this game. My Ant notes are glowing from this game. Yeah. And then they're dark. It was awesome. Like, both happened.
He was, I mean, like, that's like, you would cut the footage from the third quarter of like, not just like that you scored 19, but that you played so great. Like, this is if I'm Chris Finch, I'm cutting it. Like, this is what we want from you. Like, a lot. Especially against these teams that are defending you this way. This is exactly how we want you to handle it. Like, this is how we can still score. We can still be the ones imposing our will versus like trying to absorb something else from somebody else. And you're the one who sets the tone on that. You're the one who sets the tone on if we are the ones like pressing ourselves on the game and people are playing it under our terms. Like, and that's the way. But, like, people talk about takeaways, like, Wolves need a point guard. It's like, in that situation, all teams ask for is that the ball ends up in the hands of their best player. The ball ends up in the hands of Julius Randle. The ball ends up in the hands of Anthony Edwards. It's like halftime, it's point guard's job to get it to them. And those guys came up short. Like, and if it's ball handling or decision making or whatever, like, their ability to handle any things like that, handling the ball, like figuring out where to go with it, like, that determines the ceiling of your team. Like, I mean, honestly, just run through it in your head. Like, what team's actual point guard isn't their best player? Not like the smallest guy on the court, but what team's like actual point guard, floor general, isn't their best player? Like, they came up short in that spot. Doesn't mean they always will, but it doesn't mean that they need somebody else on the floor sometimes. And I know I advocate for Mike Conley and whatnot there, but like, I think they had the ball in their best player's hands. Like, and those guys came up short. And I don't. Sometimes it's okay to be like, yes, they erred there, and that cost them the game at the end.
Yeah, and just with the point guard thing, my thing has been the same for a while now. What is the alternative? The alternative is Mike there. Who I think a lot, or Rob.
Like, answer my actual question. Like, what team's best player is not point guard? No, like, honestly,
like, no, I would think about it. I'm going through trying to think of like teams with big guys are their best player. No, I mean,
you could say Jamal Murray on Denver, but Jamal Murray is one of their best players, and B, Jokic is often
Jokic brings
bringing the ball up the court.
I think Jokic brings it, more than he does. No, you're right. I'm just saying, to the point guard thing, the alternative options are Mike Conley, Rob Dillingham, or trade someone on the team who's on the floor in that spot for a different point guard, and there is just a huge opportunity cost to all three of those options. It seems unlikely that Rob Dillingham would have been able to magically handle that pressure a lot better than they did. I mean, it went really bad. I guess I just don't think Rob Dillingham's barely in the rotation. I don't think he's really an option in closing time for this team right now. And then, Mike would be the card to play there. And I get why they want to go with DiVincenzo too. DiVincenzo's been a really helpful player. Frankly, Finch normally goes to Mike Conley in those spots historically. Mike comes in for clutch time most of the time over the past few years, this season as well. So
Mike was struggling that night too. Mike was struggling Friday,
sure,
like Jalen Clark was.
And then I don't know. There's that third box of do we start playing fake trade machine and what you have to get a point guard? I mean, sure. There's probably somebody out there that would help, but that literally comes with the cost of needing to trade, one of your rotation players to acquire them. I don't know the cost exactly. They don't have draft picks to be able to trade. They can't just magically go out and get that guy. So I hear the point guard thing. It's not like they don't have the best point guard position in the NBA, but they've clearly moved on to Ant and Julius being the point guard because those other three bins that we just went through, all have really big flaws to them. So
that's your max players are your point guards, so then it's kind of hard to fill in other spots. That's just the truth. The max player is your point guard. I know Julius is not a max, but he's that type of player from Minnesota. That's how he's viewed on the team. So he's also he and Ant are your point guards. They're floor generals,
Right. Today's show is brought to you by Factor. And when fall comes around in our household, we start doing Factor. Seriously, it's a lifesaver, saving time from making dinner. Because with a busier routine in the fall, going to games a lot, it's tough for me to find time to cook. That's why I love Factor. Their chef-prepped, dietitian-approved meals. They make it easy for me to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic my schedule gets. Factor has more variety and more meals than they ever have before. You can choose from a wide selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp. No extra cost on those. For more choices to better nutrition, that's why 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life. And you can feel the difference no matter what your routine is. I really do use this, and I think you should too. Eat smart at factormeals.com/DaneMoore50 off and use the code DaneMoore50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code DaneMoore50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. You can find that URL and code in the show notes. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid to new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase.
It's on them.
Percentage chance do you think there is that the Wolves trade for a point guard at the deadline if you had to pick today?
Small, right? I don't.
10.
I still don't think it's a fix.
20?
I always go back to this you could say it was an error back then, but it's the way the NBA works. When Game 6 against Memphis in the playoffs, Jordan McLaughlin came in, and I just watched it back, and I was like, oh, he never even touched the ball on 80% of these final possessions. It was Ant and Cat, because Ant would come get the ball. Ant always comes gets the ball, especially late in games. He comes and gets it. He's like, give it to me.
As he should.
Yeah, which is fine. He's your best player. You have to live and die with your best players. That's what happens anyway. Even if there's a point guard out there, Ant's going to go get the ball. Especially when it's winning time. That's what his brain says to do. That's what you should want it to do. I think Tim Connolly said it. I don't know if it was last offseason or the one before it. We're going to go as far as Ant takes us. That's the truth. That's why when we analyze Ant saying, oh my God, that play in the third quarter was awesome. And oh my God, that wasn't a good enough effort. Oh my God, that was a mistake. Oh my God, do that. It's because it all comes down to that. Yeah. You can talk about all these ancillary things, how much you want. It comes down to that. And now Julius, as well as he's played, is maybe kind of entering that bucket too of or Julius, but I think ultimately it comes down to Ant. But either way, like if Julius can take up some of the slack here, that probably only helps. But it comes down to those guys. They're going to be the ones with the ball in their hands, no matter what.
It's the same thing in Houston, man, and it's KD and Şengün.
Yeah,
and they handle in those spots. They handle in clutch time, and that team in clutch time, when I've watched them play, has what I remember watching a game where they played the Bucks a couple of weeks ago, and it came down to the very end, and it's KD comes in and breaks it and comes in for a mid-range pull himself, self-created. And the next one is Şengün being picked up at half court by Giannis, and he breaks him down, gets to the basket, 4-and-1. Like,
but what was the play call though?
I don't get it. What do you mean?
I mean, so he's like, well, what are these plays we're running? It's like nothing.
No, that was the play.
It's get the ball to your best player,
Right. And I don't know. I haven't watched every Houston game, and maybe Şengün or KD have messed that up. It's a risk that Houston runs too by not having a true point guard out there. And it's a risk the Wolves are running too. It's a risk that needs to be mitigated as the roster is currently constructed by the two best players, Edwards and Randle, Şengün and Durant. That's the game they're playing right now. And and I don't know. And you could make arguments that Ant and Julius aren't good enough at that, so they have to address the point guard position. Well, the three ways to address the point guard position, again, we went through, are Conley, Dillingham, or trade a piece to go get one. I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll get a lot more of this, and it ends up looking like not having a point guard is a much bigger issue for the Timberwolves than it is the Rockets. And then we go, okay, well, maybe the Timberwolves do need to do that, do need to make some sort of change. But I think this is the plan, and the ceiling comes with those guys being able to handle this better. They handled it extremely poorly in Phoenix on Friday night. I think they can do better. I think Anthony Edwards can do better than he did in that game. And I think Julius Randle can do better than he did in that game, in that time. And frankly, they probably just needed one of them to not lose their mind in that time and then win that game. It just can't be both of them who fall out from an offensive execution and breaking the press and getting into offense standpoint at the same time. They can't afford to do that. Both of them are going to do that. But if you're Tim Conley and you think, man, that feels like a risk going into the playoffs, this is going to happen. There's going to be clutch time all the time. It's going to come down to the last few minutes. They're going to pick up full. Well, yeah, if you don't believe in it, then you need to make some sort of trade or something like that. But that trade, does that cost you Naz Reid? Does that cost you Dante DiVincenzo? Like, there's a cost. That's all I would say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, it seems like when you're like, oh, who are those like top level point guards who really dictate play and whatnot? Like, yeah, they're pretty close to like max guys. So right. Then who are you trading? Like, you can't have all the guys you have on your team. Like, and you're basically like, okay, so our maxes aren't good enough, is what you're saying at that point, in my mind. Mm-hmm. And then I think they would like to be like, all right, let's just see if Ant can get there, because that's the path. Like, that's the path, is like somebody who plays shooting guard can have the ball in his hands at the end of games, and be when it's when they're at their best anyway, is when he is running the show and dictating it and doing it to the best of his abilities. Like, that's when they're at their best. Like, and like I said, like a point guard or whatever, like, you can go get one if you want. Like, who do you think is going to go have the ball in his hands at the end of the game? Yeah. It's like, that's kind of where the line I've drawn on it is like, it's going to come. Ant's going to get the ball in his hands, and that's what he wants to do. That's what they want to do. So let it ride out and say, and then when it comes up short, say, hey, you got to be better. Learn and grow.
And it's going to be the same thing in Phoenix too with Devin Booker. And like that game's actually a perfect example of that. Like that McDaniels and Gobert pick and roll defense was too good for him. Too good for him. He couldn't do anything with that. He needed somebody else to go to in those spots. And some of these guys who are kind of not pure points and stuff like that, like, they get stopped in these spots. Booker is a very good player in the NBA, who's relied upon in the exact same way that we're talking about Ant and Julius being relied upon, and didn't have success against it. Got completely shut down in this game. Historically, gets shut down by this team. And as I'm thinking about it, when was the last time they were really good? Who was next to Devin Booker in the backcourt? Chris Paul. So it's. I mean, I hear, like, for some players, again, I guess maybe
Chris Paul's one of their max players. Chris Paul, one of their max players,
Yep.
Not just like a guy who they had on 10 million. It was like one of the best players who you're like, no, yeah, Chris is running this. He's one of our best players.
And Chris Paul, circa 2021, on this Timberwolves team, would be awesome.
Would be
That
awesome.
would be
Yeah.
That would they should do that. If they could get that guy, they should go get that player. That would help Ant a lot, because now we're talking about a souped up version of Mike Conley from 2 years ago. You know, the player that this team really feels like it needs there. But anyways, I wanted to talk about just McDaniels and Gobert. I thought the Wolves ball perimeter defense was really good all night, but especially on Booker. And it was a reminder that this team can take out some good players defensively when they got that McDaniels and Gobert thing working in tandem.
For sure. And this was a night too when Phoenix didn't have as many perimeter shooting options, just because Grayson Allen's a pretty big part of what Phoenix does. But Booker, that is a rare one where they had him in jail, but I actually do think Jaden's got his number from multiple perspectives. Booker isn't a blow by speed guy, so Jaden's length really bothers him. And then it's just where it's happening so time and time again, to where Booker kind of seems like he's second guessing himself even when he gets to spots where I'm like, that's your shot.
Fourth quarter,
that's your shot right there.
Yeah.
You know, and the ones that are open aren't falling, and it's just you can just tell it looks like he doesn't want to be out there. You know,
it's okay, I beat Jaden. Here comes Rudy.
Right.
You know,
and then he gets the 14-footer or whatever. And it's usually Devin Booker's money there. And by the end, it's these aren't close. I mean, he's pulling some bad threes because he's just I'm not getting anything else. So then it was really affecting his decision making. And we've seen a lot of that. I think we've seen some of the worst of Devin Booker. He hasn't, last year, wasn't awesome for him, but I guarantee you Wolves fans are Devin Booker stinks, because when you see him play, you're seeing the worst version of him. And that's what Jaden, and you're right, the combination of Jaden and Rudy have kind of done to him. He's in a real vice. It's
athleticism thing,
right?
It's a physical imposition thing. Jaden is 7 inches taller than him, probably has a foot of wingspan on him, and is the better athlete in the matchup. You know, that's the thing that if we switch it with Ant, and if Jaden was guarding Ant, Ant would be a better athlete than Jaden in that spot.
Right.
If Jaden's a better athlete than you and he's bigger and just as quick as you, that dude he's going to stop you unless he gets in foul trouble.
Or your screening better be great. Your screening better be great. Otherwise, but that's about
that's
it.
what got Gillespie open, I guess.
Just in general, the Wolves aren't the first team to do it. I hate the pass off screens, where you're just what matchup do you guys want? You can have it, that when it's that easy and it's just not even really contested. But I digress on that.
Which is it's actually talking about a different thing. I mean, and that's not true. They switched on Booker. Rudy got out on him at times. I just thought I love the Wolves pick and roll defense in that game outside of on Booker. I haven't seen them approach different coverages as effectively. They were doing all sorts of different. I would have loved to ask Mitch about that too, of your pick and roll execution. This team normally struggles if they're going from switching to drop to a high wall and rotating on the backside. I don't know. If the Wolves defense does a swift incline over the next month, and we're talking around Christmas about the Wolves being 5th in defense and continuing to climb, I'm thinking about this as the turning point of
the last 30 minutes of
stuff
that
that was the pick and roll stuff was terrible at the beginning of the year for this team. That looked awesome against Phoenix, and in a progression that's kind of been happening over the past couple of weeks. So again, another, I think, really encouraging thing that tells you a positive story down the line for this team. It sucks that this is for a gamer pod about as many of those as I've had, I thought we were going to be praising this thing up and down. And I think we are. It's just both things happened in this game. Both things happened. Terrible meltdown, really good play previously. And that's just where this team's at right now. That's just, which isn't encouraging. It probably removes them from that elite class of the West for the time being, right? But
that class is shrinking.
Possibility there,
right? I don't get to it, but I agree. Just in general, it's you see the peaks of the Wolves. You see the peaks of the Wolves, and then you do see the little flaws, little faults, where it's but do you trust that there? Do you trust that there? But wow, look at what they can do here. This and this are elite. This and this are not. And where does that leave you in the whole picture?
Right.
And Denver, you would have put right in that Oklahoma City class. And Houston, I'm intrigued to see Minnesota play Houston, but
I am too.
Denver now, Denver was elite because a big part because Aaron Gordon is one of the great, like, oh my God, this dude might be like a top 20 player, top 25 player in the NBA. Like each of the last couple of years, he's gotten on top of like the rebounding, the great defense, the physicality, just the smarts of what he does. Like now he's just, not only is he shooting, hitting the three, but he's also like in isolation, a very good player, getting to where he wants to get to and whatnot. It's like, this is like the scorer that like, he was almost trying to be terribly in Orlando, and now he's doing it efficiently while doing all the stuff he actually learned how to do in Denver. And now that he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks was a strained
grade 2.
Was it a hamstring or calf? I don't remember.
Hamstring, which has been a thing for him too.
Yeah, okay. Actually, that's what took him out of. That's what took him out of that end of that OKC series, right? Like where he was basically walking up and down the court in Game 7, and it worked for a quarter. I
mean, I don't wish injuries for anyone, but like literally. I don't know if it was maybe it was with Kyle, but we were talking about Aaron Gordon on must have been after that Denver game. And I did what you just did at Praise, but I was like, pretty sure he's going to hurt his hamstring. Cause like I don't know if I said hamstring, but he just has struggled with soft tissue injuries throughout his career. And is not a bankable piece for, more than 60 games in a season really for this team.
And then especially the 2 months of the playoffs. Like it's 2 months of like a lot of travel. Every game is really high intensity. We saw last year, like as much as the playoffs are like, who's the best team? It's like, who's the most durable team? Because this is a marathon in the NBA playoffs. Like they just go on. You get to the end of the finals and everybody's got like gray hair and they're like, this is still going. That didn't make it through 2 rounds last year. I don't know if he'd make it through again. Like at their peak, Denver is absolutely, maybe the second best team in the NBA. But it's just like it feels like a little bit more of a gamble each year, which stinks because like Aaron Gordon, while physically like you see these issues, like skill wise, he's reached his top form. It's just like will his body hold up for it?
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, it feels like Julius Randle, like kind of like the thing full flowering. I mean, they're different type of players, but like. In the sense that Julius Randle seems like he landed in a spot on a team with a coach in a role that can get everything out of Julius Randle, and that's a credit to Tim Conley and Chris Finch for making that happen. And I think Aaron Gordon had like same thing happened in Denver where it's like removed him from a somewhat inefficient role, put him into a position on this Denver team and has like fully flowered in the same way, which is a credit to Tim Conley who traded for him. And then for, Mike Malone and now David Adelman, who I think actually Adelman has been empowering.
Yeah.
Gordon. I would assume Adelman, if I had to guess on the bench.
And there's no MPJ
more in here.
So that's a little different too. Like, sure. I think that automatically opens some stuff up because Cam Johnson is not a high vault, especially not in their system, the way they've used him.
Right. And I guess we're talking about, I put down in the notes that I sent to Chase that I wanted to talk about Denver, a little bit. I watched the Kings and Nuggets play each other on Saturday night. Wolves play the Kings tonight, and it was the Nuggets' first game without Gordon, and it just kind of like stood out to me. One, I was like, I watched like the Kings look a little bit better now, which I would just put on people's radar for tonight. The record's still what it is, but Keegan Murray's back. He's maybe one of their best players. I watched them play the Nuggets. I'm gonna do something on the Thunder, so I actually watched them play the Thunder this weekend as well. Like I would just note that the Kings are playing better than the Kings team that we saw the other 2 times that the Wolves played them, and it wasn't close at all. But what I really wanted to talk about, was what we've been doing right now is this Denver team. No Aaron Gordon for 4 to 6 weeks. Christian Brown's out for a long time too, and you're turning that game on, and there's Peyton Watson and Spencer Jones starting around Jokic.
I don't know what they see like Spencer Jones. I don't know. Every time he's out there, I think he looks like lost on a basketball court, but he's the first button they press when I don't know, maybe he'll grow into something. Maybe he's a better player at practice, but scared is a great word. He looks scared on the court. And he's the first button they press when they lose a rotation player. And it's like, holy smokes. Like but just Aaron Gordon's importance. Like, let's just go back to the last game at Target Center. Aaron Gordon played 36 minutes and Denver won those minutes by 33 points. That means Aaron Gordon didn't play 12 minutes and the Wolves won those minutes by 22 points. Like it is just a very average team when Aaron Gordon's not out there. Like I truly believe that. Like they're great offensively, defensively they're horrible without Aaron Gordon. And then he also take out Christian Brown. Like they've literally lost their 2 best defenders.
That
without
must be why
anything.
maybe that's what Spencer Jones is good at. Like,
I think that's
yeah.
the point. I remember somebody being like, when we were talking like pregame about who's going to guard Ant, somebody was like, I think they were saying Spencer Jones, and then you watched him play defense. It was like, well, he's just running around wildly. I don't see how this is going to work. But yeah, they've down for the foreseeable future two of their best defenders. Like, I think you're going to see some of the most insane Jokic stat lines for these next 3 weeks, and it's going to be, and Denver is 6-5,
Right.
but it's going to be hanging on with offense. They're not going to be able to stop a nosebleed. They've also lost, one of their top 3 scorers. I just think Aaron Gordon is their second best player. Like, they're in trouble. Like, they're in trouble in terms of the standings. If Aaron Gordon comes back and doesn't get hurt again and the recovery goes smoothly, great for them. But just in terms of the standings, there's a crack for other teams to move up.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to bring up from a Wolves context here of, I'd been kind of viewing it as Oklahoma City, Houston, and Denver as the teams above, Minnesota. And then, then it's kind of about the Wolves, Lakers, Spurs, that kind of group there. Phoenix record-wise is there right now too. But if Denver is going to be more like the no-bench Denver teams or just playing, whenever Hunter Tyson's in the rotation for them too, I'm just like, okay, you don't have enough play. They just don't have enough players to get through it. Like the Wolves, I could picture it too. It'd be like Leonard Miller getting consistent minutes every night, which, I'm curious.
We don't know.
Leonard Miller play at some point, but like,
but
our
it could go bad.
assumption would be, Johnny Juzang's playing 20 minutes. Like that's the point that they're at right now, which opens up a window for this Wolves team to, if they're able to take care of business against some of these, better teams, kind of sharpen themselves through playing Oklahoma City, Boston this weekend, San Antonio. Like there's an opportunity for the Wolves to position themselves in the standings to a degree that I'm not sure that would just be a lot harder to do if Denver was at full strength. So I think these Nuggets injuries are noteworthy from a Wolves perspective. And it's why I wanted to, talk about it too, because I don't think they're going to be able to play at like a 50-some win pace without Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown. I mean, if they do, more power to you, Jokic, but I bet he'll be fatigued.
You'll be tracking those end of game free throws.
I will be.
I agree with you that if these
I'm right about that.
If these teams were real, I'm sure he has. I remember him missing free throws against the Wolves in games. Over 2, I'm sure has happened. I don't.
How does one look that up?
Might be able to look it up on StatHead. That's like whenever I pulled things up, it's like, wow, you ran through the game logs. It's like, no, I plugged it into filters on StatHead, like with the $5 for a subscription and typed it in. Like, but I think at healthy, the Rockets, Nuggets, and Thunder were all gonna eclipse like 55 wins, and so I think top 3 seed would have been almost out of the question. And then at that point, you're like, okay, well, if you're 4 or 5, that means Oklahoma City in the second round. And that's not awesome for anybody. I don't think anybody wants that. But now if you're like, okay, if Denver slides for a while, maybe now the 3 seed is 53 wins. And then Minnesota could maybe get to that. Minnesota's off pace for what I thought they would be at this point in the year for sure. But, maybe you can get to that, especially if you start finding a stride. And then all of a sudden, like, that's just so much more preferred, I think, to other spots. Never know with injury or anything, but
the 4 or 5 means OKC in the second round. Like, top 3 is important,
especially just when you look at when you zoom out, like you can say like, oh, it's pretty much the same thing as last year. They just faced OKC in the second round and lost. But like, I think people zoomed out would be like, oh wow, didn't even get to the West Finals again. Like that just matters, I think, from like people's zoomed out picture of like, is this team regressing? Even if it looks the same. That's all factors into.
Last thing, what are you expecting on Wednesday against Oklahoma City? In Oklahoma City?
I do think I would expect Minnesota to get out to a strong start because I think they want to play the Thunder again. They know, like, I think they'll be able to motivate them and be like, hey, I know some of you guys don't care about this NBA Cup, but like if we win, we can still go move on. It's on chips are on the table for us here. Revenge for the West Finals, all that stuff. And like the Thunder are playing great. They haven't played that many great teams, and they still don't have Jalen Williams. So like if the Wolves can't punch with the Thunder when they're heavily motivated and the Thunder don't have Jalen Williams, think that would be alarming. So I think Minnesota's going to give a pretty good punch. I expect a pretty competitive game. I don't think they're just going to get waxed. I think playing Phoenix in that ball pressure will be like a more recent example of like, hey, Oklahoma City is going to do it at a higher level. But maybe you can get to stuff sooner. Like I think Minnesota will play well. I would expect the Thunder to still win because I don't know how we go into any game and say that the Thunder will lose. But I expect a better effort from Minnesota than what they saw in like the West Finals in OKC.
And it'll be a 48-minute test because that's one thing about it. Like Oklahoma City doesn't stop. Like if the Wolves they come out hot in that game and they're
32 to
20 at halftime. Or like whatever, it's like a big lead and the Wolves are rolling. Like I've watched enough Thunder games to know like they stick to it and because they know that like their 18-4 avalanche is coming too. So I say that to me, and like even with the Wolves punching first, which I agree, like I think we'll probably see that in that game. No matter what, I think the Wolves are going to have to play like 48 minutes against that team. And to what we started this episode with of like, that just seems super healthy thing for this team to experience right now. And even if it's negative reminders in the way that this game was, it's a reminder that like is this margin. That game was a box out away, for saving that 50 seconds unfolding, the way it was. Amongst other things, but that one was mentally things hadn't gone crazy yet. That was just Ant missed an assignment right there off ball, as sometimes he historically does, and it led to a Royce O'Neal layup that led to the Anthony Edwards first turnover, which led to the 3 turnovers in 20 seconds, which led to the missed free throws, which led to the loss. You're gonna need to be sharp against these best teams, against Oklahoma City, against Houston, against Denver in the regular season, and certainly in the playoffs. So yeah, I'm looking forward to another test of it, but I'm done here unless you got anything else.
I know you probably do a lot more like OKC preview, but I am intrigued. Like I think OKC's best version of defending the Wolves is with Dort on Ant and J-Dub on Julius. Like maybe there's more of a crack now for Julius to have a better performance than he did in the West Finals given matchup. Sure. So I can see that. Is kind of my thought on that.
No, that is a good point.
They'll be in the gaps, certainly. All of that, but maybe just better chances to get to his spots.
Yeah, primary. That's such a huge thing always, right? Who's the primary on Julius, and does that make him more of a scorer or a playmaker in this spot? And in the playmaker one, is he a playmaker or is he a turnover maker in this game? And that's just kind of how every Wolves matchup. I'm glad you kind of put that on my radar. We're gonna do more of a genuine preview of that Thunder game. Man, AJ Mitchell, dude,
he's been great. Yeah, he's been
what?
Great.
How did they get that?
I don't know. Like this is like this guy played. I looked it up because you were talking about how great he was, and I was like, this guy played 80 more minutes than Rob last year. So didn't play very much.
He's on a two-way,
and now is just like a consistently really good player. Like just developing himself in the practice gym and whatnot. It's like just Yeah, I don't know what's in the water.
It is a good example of Rob of like, it can work to kind of be in
without minutes.
Like,
it can work without minutes.
Yeah. And then get the opportunity and jump at it, which
be ready for it.
With Rob, like, I'm that's going to probably come at some point this season. And Rob's going to have a week where he's playing, a couple weeks, maybe he's playing 20 minutes a night. Like, what does that look like when it scales? It is always just around the league, especially on the Wolves. It's always cool. I mean, Nikhil, that's what Nikhil was like. What is this? Like, what can a player do when his role goes from 12 minutes to 24? Like, that's always cool when that's a player development. And AJ Mitchell's been that for them for sure. We'll see about Rob. Man, this is fun. And I don't know. I guess I'll probably if you can do the Monday morning, that'll be my next pod after the Oklahoma City game because I'm going to be out of town. So I think that'll be the plan. Is Jason and I will circle back a week from today on whatever kind of happens here on Thanksgiving week. Like I said off the top, Kyle and I are going to record late tonight after the Kings game to get one more episode in here before I got to go out of town.
I hear you. That is a late one. Yeah.
I'll knock it out. It'll be.
Dane says something really dumb tomorrow morning, and you're like, "What is that?" Just know that he's probably just
been up for 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys listening, and make sure to consume what Jace is writing over at twincities.com. Obviously, that Ant piece got a lot of play over the weekend or over last week, but I thought, Jace is always writing about this team after the games. I liked your takeaway piece from the Phoenix, right away from the Phoenix game, and then what you wrote on Sunday, just about the importance of the higher caliber of team. That kind of got my mind on the Phoenix Portland connection, which is a good piece of info you always get from Chase. So follow him on Twitter at Chase Frederick. Read him in the Pioneer Press. Until Tuesday morning with Kyle. He's Jace. I'm Dane. Peace out.
How I'm feeling, man, I hope it never stop, yeah. Green and hot so you can find me in the crowd, yeah. Don't let standards ever bring you down, yeah.